have a client. He's a real interesting individual because he is he's currently 73. He's a retired biology professor, and he was a professor not at one university but at two, both Harvard and MIT. So he was a biologist and an MD, you know, one of these certified geniuses. And he did a review of 20 different insomnia studies some years ago, and what the studies concluded was really interesting because these are largely medical school studies, and what they concluded was that it doesn't matter the medications, the number one thing that works in the reversal of insomnia, lifestyle changes. That's it. That's what a ton of experts concluded. And an interesting thing around sleep medication is that people that go on sleep meds, when they get off of the meds, it makes the insomnia even worse because they become addicted to the medication. And that's the case with a lot of different health issues. You probably have heard that with different things, right? I'm going to share with you some statistics. 30% of Americans suffer from chronic insomnia. Okay. 60 million experience problems falling asleep in any given year. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain to you how these four areas play out. I'm going to give you client case histories on this, and what I'm going to try to do is to focus each of the techniques that I give you tonight from each of these areas. Okay, I'm giving you a total of 5, but we're going to start with 4, and then we're going to take a break. So each of the techniques focus on these areas, but there will be some carryover. Okay, and I'm going to explain how that works. So again, 4 smaller problems with 4 simple solutions. All right, so here's the first problem. This is generally something that people with insomnia experience. You go to bed, but your mind is racing. Right? That's a clear indication of stress. Most cases of insomnia, by the way, are stress-induced. Yeah. So, simple solution, stress reduction techniques. Now, there are a lot of different stress reduction techniques out there. Some of them are a bit more mental, emotional. Others help to release physical tension in the body, which has some mental and emotional ramifications, usually positive, although it depends. It might actually trigger something in a person. So massage therapy would definitely be an example of a physical stress reduction activity. Okay. The first one that I'm going to give you is, I'm going to give you 3 examples here. The first one is going to be just in the mental and emotional realm. Okay. There's a scientist by the name of Jon Kabat-Zinn. I first got exposed to his work in 1995. I was given a book of his as a gift. And he's a pioneer of what's known as mindfulness-based stress reduction. Okay?
Say that again?
Mindfulness-based stress reduction. Okay? Everyone got that? Mm-hmm. All right. So he's a pioneer of that. He started a stress reduction clinic that became world-renowned. And he was up at the University of Massachusetts Medical Center. Truly brilliant individual, PhD in molecular biology, and then just got really into stress reduction after studying with a Zen master. So he became very good at teaching this to medical professionals, especially psychiatrists who could really use that with their patients. And at the clinic, he worked with people that had a wide array of issues, from like anger management to insomnia to, I think he did work with people with psychiatric issues that were also under psychiatric evaluation. Wide array of issues, and he employed the techniques, and they worked incredibly well. He was actually on a show in the 1990s, I think it was, PBS with Bill Moyers. It was called Healing in the Mind. Okay, I think that's also the show that helped to launch Deepak Chopra's career back in the earlier 90s. So, brilliant man, and there's a book of his that I want to recommend. Now, what's interesting about this book, I have a unique relationship with this book. It's the only book that in 13 years of practice, it's the only one that I've recommended to clients to read. Because the content of the book is not something that I can adequately replicate or teach to people. Okay. bless you. Thought you had a third one coming. So, highly recommend the book. The title of the book is Wherever You Go, There You Are. Okay, don't know if any of you may have heard of it. Anyone?
I've heard of it.
Yes.
Okay. Became a national bestseller in 1994 when it was first published. It was his second book. His first book actually outlines his 8-week program at the stress reduction clinic that he had at the University of Massachusetts Medical Center, right? But this book was a fantastic introduction for the general public in these stress reduction techniques, okay? Purely in the mental and emotional realm, all right? Now, if you're not into reading such a book, he's also got a CD set, which is a very good introduction as well for people that aren't interested in the book, all right? Would highly recommend it. Look it up on Amazon. I can send you the information. Fantastic read or listen to. And the CD set, it starts with, the first CD is just instructional, you know, lecturing about mindfulness. Then the second one, he actually leads you in exercises. It just helps you to dissolve different mental and emotional concerns. Okay, so that's in the mental and emotional area of stress reduction. Now the physical. Couple of different possibilities here, and I've played with each. So if you recall, the turning point for me was when I went to that yoga retreat, right? Now the interesting thing about yoga, and it also depends on the type of yoga, but for the most part, yoga is a stress-reducing activity that is also a fitness activity, right? So it would be in both of these quadrants, okay? For people that are a bit more physically oriented, like I am, okay? I did yoga for 6 years, so I got hooked with it. After basically participated in my reversal of the insomnia, and I began teaching it to other people, to clients of mine. Just like basic introductory stuff, because I never became a yoga instructor. I thought about it, but I realized that really wasn't the direction that I wanted to go. So I did it with clients, and there was one interesting night at work where I was working at this gym, and I had 2 clients that came in back to back, both of them stressed and drained from a hard day's work. Now, when it comes to fitness training, when I'm working with people, I can either train them or I can drain them. If a person's already coming in drained, they don't need me physically hitting them hard, doing medicine ball walking lunges across the gym and, you know, heavy dumbbell presses or whatnot. The person is already heavily physiologically loaded, as we say. For me to train that person really hard, I would just be draining them. Their performance is going to suffer anyway, and it increases the risk for injury. It's not really worth it, okay? Now, the person is coming in to do some kind of physical activity, right? So what I did with these 2 clients back to back, it was really interesting. There was a yoga room in this particular gym, and I exposed them to yoga for the first time that they'd ever done it. And they felt so much better at the end of it, because it was physical enough that it engaged them and had them meet certain, you know, physical expression needs that they came in with, while at the same time still being stress reducing. Okay, that's one of the reasons why yoga has become fairly popular in the fitness environment in major cities, because major cities are just, I mean, just bastions of stress, right? Particularly in the corporate world, and I worked with a lot of clients in the corporate world. So this became really good for them. So that's what I did for a few years. But for the last 4 years, I've adopted some other techniques. What I've been doing is going in and doing a form of hands-off body work, teaching people some self-massage techniques using a foam roller. But you see foam rollers in gyms all over the place, but what I always carry with me are a pair of massage balls, okay? And they get into areas that a foam roller cannot, particularly the areas where we store stress, the neck, base of the skull, down to the shoulders, right? You notice that you store stress there?
Yes.
Mm-hmm, good. So what I've been doing with people, and it's worked like a charm, and I love techniques that just work incredibly quickly. And I'll actually show them to you. These 2 simple little balls, they look like handballs. Right? $10. Shipping and handling, $335 if you buy them from a certain website. And what you do is you start You wouldn't normally keep them in this little pouch. You'd separate them. You'd start here at the base of the skull, laying on the ground, and just work it all the way down into the shoulders. Now, the two areas where most people feel it the most, base of the skull, not so much throughout the rest of the neck, but when they get into the shoulders, it hits them. Yeah, got it.
No.
Question.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you work with the balls when they're not in the bag. Don't they start rolling independently of
No, because you're laying on the ground and your body weight is coming down onto the ball, so it keeps them in place.
Okay.
You could also do it up against the wall. And the same thing, you would just use your legs and press into the ground to press your body back against the wall. Okay? Fantastic physical tension release technique. Now, what's really interesting is that I learned this at another yoga retreat, which was specially designed for fitness and rehab professionals. But there weren't too many of us in there. It was largely people from the general public that just wanted to learn a certain system of yoga. And it was called Yoga Tune-Up, and that's the website where you can order these, yogatuneup.com. All right? And also got a handout for you with photos of the physical techniques that you can try out. There you go. So you can take these with you, try them out. I tried to be as descriptive as I could, and the photographs should make it fairly self-explanatory. It's exactly what I just explained. Where most people store stress, it's in the neck and the shoulders. So that first technique right there deals with that. But and then there are some other techniques in there that help with postural correction and other areas where people may store stress, particularly in the lower back. Now, another way that I've applied these techniques, I've got clients that do some traveling for business. So I had one client who came to me a number of weeks ago, and I've done this a bunch of times since, but with her it was very pronounced. She got caught in the kind of airline drama that Sandy and I have been caught in a number of times, but she had it worse because she had connecting flight in Chicago and got stuck there overnight. Yeah, so as if it's not stressful enough to deal with flight delays, if you have a connecting flight, it then throws you off because you may not catch the connecting flight. Right. So completely messed her up. She was on planes, she was in Palm Springs, not really physically active, largely sitting at a conference. When you sit, you put compression forces through your lower back, right? So there's stress that can develop there. We humans aren't really designed to sit for prolonged periods. Now when you're at an airport, you're dealing with a certain amount of stress from the flight delay, and then you miss your connection. Then you've got to sit more. Then you're sitting on the plane. So we're talking perhaps 15 consecutive hours of just sitting and being stressed. So at that point, you take the massage balls, and now you need to go further and go right down the lower back and the top of the glutes. Okay? And that'll release the tension in that area. All right? So what we've covered so far here, 3 simple techniques. Pure mental and emotional stress reduction, that's John Kabat-Zinn's field. Highly recommend pursuing his work, checking it out. Great introduction for the general public. You can do stuff like yoga, these mind-body type exercises where it's both fitness and stress reduction, or you can just do the, you feel like really stressed out and you feel the tension right in the tissues, right in the neck and shoulders, go right in there with a pair of massage balls. One cautionary note is, and it's right on the sheet, do not do those techniques on consecutive days. Okay, because you're breaking up muscular adhesions, trigger points, getting into knots in the tissue. It's traumatic to the tissue. It's kind of like exercise. Like, yeah, it's a general rule of strength training also that you don't work the same muscles on consecutive days. They need 48 hours recovery because it's traumatic to the muscle. Same thing with massage. Okay, 48 hours recovery. All right, what you could do is to break it up, however. Say Monday you do the neck and shoulders, Tuesdays you do the lower back. And then Wednesdays you just go back to the neck and shoulders and so on and so forth, right? So is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Now,